Hello, my name is Lachlan and welcome to BricksNShticks. Today I'll be taking a look at LEGO set 10329, The Tiny Plants. This set is recommended for ages 18 and up, comes with 758 pieces and retails for $100 Australian dollars. That's $50 if you're from the US. This set was released back in December of 2023 as a predecessor from LEGO's previous tiny set from the Botanicals collection, The Succulents. On the front of the box we can see the 9 plants that come in this set, along with that typical 18 plus all black background. LEGO recommends that anywhere from 1 to 3 people can build this set at once, but I'll talk more on that once I've opened the set. Looking at the side of the box, we can see a compressed but nice image that includes all 9 of the plants. Quickly moving along to the top now, and ignoring the fact that my box arrived quite damaged, once again we see all 9 plants along with this set's 1:1 scaled piece, the pot. On the back of the box, you guessed it, we get another look at all 9 of the plants. On here, we also get the dimensions of the tallest plant in the set, as well as some nice example images of how the plants can look on display. Opening up the box now, we get 6 numbered bags and 3 instruction manuals. Each manual uses 2 bags to build 3 plants. With this, LEGO creates the ability for up to 3 people to build this set at one time, which is a pretty cool feature. Now before I take a closer look at the plants themselves, I wanted to quickly show the design of the pots. LEGO designed 3 different sized pots to display the plants in, the smallest being easily the simplest build. It's nothing fancy, but it works perfectly for its size. The next in size is, as expected, a little more complicated. To round this pot out, LEGO did quite a simple but quite an effective technique. By putting a small bracket piece on the underside of a slope tile, it allows for a nice flow between sides and minimizing gaps. And for the largest of the pot designs, obviously it's the most complicated. By stacking 2 clip pieces on top of each other, it allows for the pot to have an almost seamless, round design, while still being completely brick built. Even though the pots are broken up by the order of small, medium and large with each instruction manual, after a while they do start to get quite repetitive. With that being said, I do appreciate the consistency of them, as the final look of the plants altogether looks great with these pots. The first set of plants I'll be taking a look at are the tropical plants. Built from the first 2 bags and using the first instruction manual, these 3 plants include the false shamrock, the jade plant, and the lace leaf. Starting with the smallest of the lot, we've got the false shamrock. This is the first of the plants you build if you follow the instructions in order, and honestly, it's kind of lackluster. The build itself is cool in concept, using 6 butterfly pieces to create the leaves, but in execution, it looks a little out of place next to the rest of the set, especially when close up. Moving on to the slightly larger jade plant now, this build, like the last, has some interesting choices when it comes to its part usage. If you haven't seen it by now, the jade plant utilizes these small green hat pieces as its leaves. Unlike the false shamrock though, these peculiar parts work a lot better, and leaves the final design looking quite a lot closer to the source material. Though once you notice that the leaves are hats, it's very hard to look at this build normally again. Moving on to the final tropical plant, we've got ourselves the lace leaf. This has got to be my favorite build out of the first 3, and looks the closest to its real life counterpart. Like the previous 2, this build also uses a few unusual parts to complete its look, this time in the use of shells and horns to make up the petals. Another fun detail with this build is this little ladybug included at its base. The tropical plants definitely have the most experimental builds, utilizing quite a few unusual parts to bring this set to life. This pays off quite well in the lace leaf, but is definitely debatable for the other 2 builds. But for now, I reckon that's enough about tropical plants. These plants are built through the second instruction manual, and are built using bags 3 and 4. Included is the Venus flytrap, red sundew, and the yellow pitcher plant. Starting off with the smallest of these, the Venus flytrap. This is my favorite of the 3 small plants, and easily one of my top 3 plants in this set. Even though it's one of the smaller scaled plants, the amount of pieces used to build it are comparable to the medium-sized plants, and very close to the smallest of the large plants. My only real complaint about this build is that the red Technic handles holding the head in place sometimes can really draw away from the look of this build. On most angles though, it's perfectly fine and you can't even notice them. The red sundew on the other hand is quite the opposite. In real life, I quite like this plant, but LEGO really just didn't hit the mark with this one. The use of the maroon hairbrush pieces and the pink shoulder pads are just so fun, but unfortunately they don't make up for how this set looks as a whole. I really want to like this build, but I just can't. The final plant in this collection is the yellow pitcher plant, and oh my goodness did this turn out amazing. Even though they aren't as yellow as the name would suggest, they still look fantastic regardless. This build has arguably the best integration of irregular parts. The first of which being an upside down mop head used to widen the stem. And even higher up, we see a light green helmet piece being used for the opening. LEGO really went all out for this, as it even includes a stud in each plant to represent the nectar that it creates to attract insects. And the final thing I'll say about this plant before I move on is yes, the lids can close. allowing for some nice variation when displaying it. If it weren't for the red sundew, the carnivorous plants would have been just about perfect in my opinion. I absolutely love both the pitcher plant and the Venus flytrap, but unfortunately, the sundew just does not work as well in my opinion. Finally, we've reached the third and final instruction booklet, where we build the arid plants, also known as the desert plants. Using bags 5 and 6, the Britain's Live Forever cactus, the Eastern prickly pear, and the pincushion cactus are constructed. For the first of these final three, we've got the Britain's Live Forever cactus. For its size, it's rather accurate, with a bursting color gradient being created through the use of several upside down pieces. Unfortunately though, there's just not much else to this build. Next up is the Eastern prickly pear. The building process of this cactus was really enjoyable, but unfortunately, the end product was honestly kind of disappointing. On one side, it looks fantastic, using printed elements to represent the pads and spines, as well as studs representing the smaller pads and a flower on top to bring the design home. And on the other side, there's only really the flower. It's a shame LEGO wasn't able to get the back to the same level of detail, but I understand LEGO had to fit it into a particular scale. As I've said though, the side that is detailed looks fantastic. And if you're planning on displaying this build with its back towards a wall, you will not be disappointed. For the final plant I'll be taking a look at, we've got the pincushion cactus. Even though cushion is in its name, you definitely do not want to sit on these plants, whether it be in real life or it's a LEGO form. This is, in my opinion, the best plant of the set. Even though it definitely could have used more spines to really solidify it as a pincushion, LEGO still nailed this build, even down to the small pink flowers. The fact that it uses the most parts to build definitely works in its favor, creating quite an enjoyable end to the set and a wonderful display piece. All the builds in this set look amazing once on display, and even with the flaws that I mentioned, I can't hate how they turned out. Between the arid and the carnivorous plants, it is a real struggle for me to pick a favorite collection. Overall, I really enjoyed building this set. It definitely has its highs and its lows, both in display and accuracy, but ultimately, I do really like it. If you do intend on picking this set up, but don't particularly want to put all the plants on display, I would still highly recommend building all 9 of them, as they provide an excellent building experience and are filled with LEGO Easter eggs. If you're after a small desk display, or just don't have much room for displaying LEGO and are a fan of this set, I would highly recommend buying it if you haven't done so already. If you're wanting to purchase this set for yourself, as always, there will be a link in the description of this video to LEGO's website. If you found this video entertaining, informative, or anything similar, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to my channel. Also, if you haven't checked out my Instagram yet, I would highly recommend doing so. But for now, stay safe and talk soon.